6, discussion action resolution number 668, handy van application 2023 to 2025.
So we have to, every 2 years, apply for federal funding for our handy van. So our 2 years is about up. In July, I think it's up, so.
I forgot the city superintendent report.
Okay, yeah.
I just noticed that, sorry.
Yep, you have the report in front of you. The biggest thing that came about, Kurt and I actually had a conversation with Chris Miller from Miller and Associates. Phase 2 of the Wiseth well, which is the North 114th Street, it did not pass. The column's bad. The contractors who were even doing it, they suggested that we stop putting money into it. So they cambered it. Chris suggested the same thing, so we will, if you guys obviously will, on our plan, we move forward and look for different well locations. So in the spring, we'll start testing well sites again, and we'll go from there. So that's probably the biggest news we got. Unfortunately, it's
Bad news.
it's bad news, but we got to move forward. So
Did they ever test the water there, Jimmy? Did I ask you that?
yeah, yep. They sunk 2 wells in there next to them, test wells. They test the top and the bottom side of the water to know, and they thought we had a good chance. They had good water at the bottom.
You said nitrate's high there, Chief.
On top, yep.
When we talked about this before, didn't we say if this doesn't work out to go ahead?
Yep, we did.
We don't have to talk about this again.
No, but we'll probably talk about locations and things and what we find moving forward. So it probably won't happen until irrigation season really, so we can grab hold of samples from pivots and.
The well column at that site was bad, that's what you're saying?
Yep.
But the water is okay?
Well, see, so if you remember that he was talking about how we were going to fill that gap in there with some type of foam deal, and they felt that the bottom water was good enough quality where if they could get a strong seal on there, that they'd be able to draw it just from the bottom.
Well, then that leads me to my question, why wouldn't they think about drilling right there?
Because we have 2 wells right directly that way that are high nitrates.
They think they'll go bad.
And they think it'll be a short term, yeah. Yeah, because this wasn't, they didn't know how long this was going to last. I mean, it might last another 10 years if it worked.
Fix it cheap.
Yeah. So if they could do it for a couple $100,000, it was more of a gamble thing. It might last 5, 10, 15 years, but put in millions of dollars. They figured we're better off going somewhere that can lease quality water.
Which we kind of thought that. We were looking.
We're open. So, other than that, progress moving forward on the Stein Krause house. We got the top floor cleaned off, out. We're working on asbestos, probably about half it removed. So hopefully by the end of the month we'll have the other half removed and ready for state inspection.
Maybe we could combine that lot Bruce was talking about with those other 2 and do the public auction for that Hanks one, and wasn't there another one besides
That lot has some problems with it.
Oh, does it?
That's what Bruce was talking about, like back taxes and some.
Talking about
Stein Krause house.
now?
Yeah, that's a.
No,
Well, Bruce will be able to tell you on that one.
Bruce
We'll
was
have
talking
to-
about north of his storage,
Oh, yep.
if that one's,
Yep, we can look at that.
do that then too, maybe.
Yep.
Cause that'll be coming up too, we talked about that. We could do them all. Or
Yep.
within a reasonable amount of time.
And what we've done in the past, remember, to make that as simple as possible is, I mean, you can auction them on a certain date and just do it. But you could set a minimum and just open it for bids received 24 hours prior to any council meeting will be considered. And just leave it open until somebody shows up if you want to set them up for sale. Can certainly do it either way.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to figure that out and get ready then probably. Okay, you done, Jeremy?
Yes.
Number 7, proclamation, Nebraska Public Transportation Week, April 9th through 15th, 2023. Whereas Nebraska Public Transportation Week has been declared for April 9th to 15th, 2023. And whereas the date was chosen to honor the public transportation systems across Nebraska, including the local system better known as Plainview Handyvan. And whereas public transportation systems across the state of Nebraska are celebrating public transportation during this time frame. And whereas every year thousands of Nebraska citizens are able to participate in using public transportation to help them remain independent. And whereas Plainview has continued to support the use of public transportation throughout the year. And whereas Plainview recognizes the hard work and dedication that the city staff and especially the drivers do to help make the Plainview handy van service an integral part of the lives of many residents in this community. Now therefore be it resolved that by the virtue of the authority invested in me as mayor of the city of Plainview, Nebraska, I, Robert Smith, do hereby issue this proclamation to celebrate public transportation, and I do hereby declare April 9th through the 15th, 2023 to be the Public Transportation Week. That's a lot of whereas.
So I think that we wanna identify that the board, Lois Norris, Lois Mosier, Lois Lukey, hard to say, and Phyllis Cleveland are on the board. Drivers Arnold Oceanbruns and Larry Peterson were invited to come tonight, but all were unable to, but they do a good service to Plainview.
Thank you for that. Number 8, discussion action approval of 20 ETR 005 drawdown number 13, amended for $2,790.
So you approved this last month, and then when I went to send it, I noticed she had some errors on it, so I made her fix it, and then she added some more money to it on top of that, so you need to reapprove it, because you didn't approve it for that dollar amount, so,
Is she ever gonna get it right?
I don't know. So, anyway, that's why I gave it back to you, because it's a different dollar amount now.
Okay.
It's still for the same stuff, it's just, she added another month of expenses on there for
I
us.
move that you gotta pay it.
Right.
Second?
Second that motion.
Okay, Brian,
Aye.
Jody,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
Tyler.
Aye.
Okay, number 9, discussion action approval of 19 PP011 final drawdown, $990, added 3/9 of 2023.
So this is the planning grant that we had for the DTR, which was the first, how much was that? 54? Whatever that was. I think it was 54,000. But it was our planning grant for the DTR. This is the last invoice for that planning grant, so that is completely closed out when we pay this.
I'll make a motion to approve the final drawdown for 19-PP-011.
Second.
I'll second that motion.
All right, Tyler,
Aye.
Green, Jody,
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Break in if we can, Julian's here for the manor report.
Thank you. Not a lot going on. I've talked to Bob this week. Our assisted living renewal of our license is due, so I've got that paperwork ready to go in, and the nursing home will be here in about 2 weeks. Couple things we're working on is our employee health insurance. We ran into a little bind. Blue Cross Blue Shield went up 13.59%, which then we turned around and we only had one other contractor that would bid us, and that was United Healthcare. But then they missed one of the employees on their original bid, so once that bid, health information went in, it went higher than Blue Cross Blue Shield. So the board took a motion to table it at the time. We just took the increase for this month to see what kind of things we could generate, and think out before we tell the employees what type of increase that they will see paid on a per paycheck type thing. So we're working on those details. I have signed all the contracts. We will be getting rid of Great Plains Communication. Our bill is now, went up to over $2,000 with the new increases on commercial rates. They sent a letter out back in August. September, I thought we'd see something, and new bill just came in January. So I have been working with Dish Network, and they are to install on the 28th, 29th, and 30th at our facility. So we will be down to about $751. So less, just a little bit less than what we've been paying before at Great Plains. Today's census is 30 on the nursing home side, 31 beds paid. 13 out of the 14 assisted living rooms are full. The other one, remember, I do have a contract worker from Louisiana living with us, and she lives in one of the rooms until the end of April. Questions?
Thanks for looking at that contract, that was a big savings.
I do have one thing for you, Julian.
Yeah.
Your insurance, and Jeremy and I have been talking, there's a the League of Nebraska Municipalities has started the statewide insurance
Okay.
group. And the conference I went to that particular one, and there's a bunch of cities in Nebraska signing up. and it's through Blue Cross Blue Shield, so I wanna be talking to you about this in the future. My hope is to get all the city employees grouped together in the same plan, but it's gotta be feasible too.
Absolutely.
But you can use your same agent through this plan, from what I understand,
Okay.
but we'll be talking to you in the future, Jeremy and I are talking about, we're gonna look at it for the city employees coming up here.
Okay, like our renewal was supposed to be March 1, and because now I'm staying with Blue Cross Blue Shield right now, if I decide, I just have to give a 30-day notice, and then we would be able to get off that plan and
Yeah.
whatever date, then a yearly service from there. So it might be worth me
Yeah,
asking my agent.
and there were half a dozen city, managers there, and they all said they saved money. And
Great.
they said it was a really good plan, it worked well. There's several different options for deductibles and insurance.
We have an unhealthy group, you know, I have an older group, so that the health insurance goes up, and then some employees that are on some medications and some high medications, but that's
Oh, yeah.
today's world, so,
Yeah, once we figure out the city part of it, we'll come talk to you about it.
okay, sounds great,
We renew in February, so it won't be far off from
Yeah.
yours.
great, okay. Yeah, perfect.
Thank you for that. 15 minutes into 20.
Sure,
Okay,
I'll let
great,
you, I'll
Morgan.
let you take that.
That's great, and I just filled it all out, so I just a signature there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Okay, number 10, discussion action approval of CDS inspections, housing administration, Plainview HR 19 for $200.
They have a new housing project, so they've started this is their initial, inspection and stuff on the house, so we'll probably have another housing grant coming through, here in the next couple months for some rehab, so but this is just the first starting point for it to get paid.
Have they done this already, or they're passing?
They've already done the
So,
service,
I
yeah,
probably should approve it then.
yes.
Okay, then we will, I move that we approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, Tyler,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
Jody,
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
All right, number 11, discussion action opening of bids for rent of heating at Lagoon. Oh my gosh, we've got 3.
I did not renew it, I for that last one, sorry. They didn't want me to open it, I guess. Yeah, it's like duct tape.
Yes, those are my people.
Oh, yeah.
It's not open.
Hot paper in there too.
And that's how you know you didn't see it before.
Yeah,
You can find your pocket knife.
better than a birthday. This page was left blank on
That was
purpose.
for
They didn't
security.
want you to see that at all.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay, I, Tim Johnson, place a bid of $676.62 for the hay ground in southeast section 4 T27R4W.
676.62.
676.
62. That might make a difference.
This is from Trenton Tar.
It might.
I, Trenton Tar, will bid $100 an acre for the 9 acres around the city lagoons. Is that separate or same? Is that the same? What? Same lane? Is that the same, bidding on the same ground?
Yes.
So that's there. Brandon Myers, bid to hay the city of Plainview lagoons. I will pay a rate of $100 per acre, or approximately $900 for haying rights in 2023. So, do the same.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Somebody should put 62 cents on it.
Yeah.
So what, I don't know.
What do you do
Are
when
they-
you?
Rock, paper, scissors.
You're convinced they're actually the same, they're, they both say 100 for 9 acres, they're both $900.
$100 per acre, or approximately $900.
Yeah.
Is it 9 acres?
It's more or less
It's like-
9 acres,
Well,
yeah.
Point something.
But they both intended that, and,
Yeah.
well, it's as
$100
close to
an
the same
acre
as you
for the
can.
9 acres, $100,
Definitely so.
I would-
approximately 900 for a
You
bid.
could certainly just draw lots in some fashion, or you can
Same.
rebid. It just has to be either public or random as you
So
can
we
get.
have them
Yeah,
rebid,
flip it, flip a coin.
Those two.
have those two rebid.
I would just have them rebid.
Okay, just the two of you, yep.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with that too.
Yeah.
Just by the next council meeting, or?
Cause if they rebid, they'll
Yeah.
both know that they did the same, won't
The guy
Yes.
with the 62 cents wasn't so dumb after
they?
all.
That is right.
Yeah, yes, let's rebid
Have
before
the
the
two.
next council meeting, I was
Yeah.
fine.
We'll get a hold and tell them to
Yeah.
submit.
Rebid, maybe.
Okay,
That's the only fair way to do it,
well, hey, it is worth a lot more now too, isn't it?
cause
We
neither one of
rebid
them
it
are
to tie
doing,
again,
Yeah.
let them know that then
we're
we'll
gonna
flip
flip a coin, yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
like a good deal.
But that's how it'll be sold.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll table
Now
that.
to clarify, is that totally open? All three of them can rebid?
No,
You
I
have
would
in
just
mind
make
to
the
just
two
rebid
that
To the
between the
highest.
two highest?
highest,
Okay, they clearly were. At that
yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Okay,
You want, should we make a motion to do that?
sure.
Okay, I make a motion to, rebid between the two, Trenton, Tar, and Brandon Myers to be submitted before the next council meeting.
second that.
Okay, Tyler,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
Cody, Brian.
Aye.
Okay, number 13, discussion action updates to resolution regarding closure of Woodland Avenue between schools.
Oh, we missed two.
Well, we have to,
Mhm.
yeah.
Those are the old meetings.
Oh, sorry. Discussion, number 12, discussion action approval to advertise bids for rent of old lagoons by transfer station.
So, yeah, the reason why this wasn't brought up years before, we looked into the, like a CRP thing, we didn't qualify. And now that we talked to the state inspector again, we are allowed, or he believes he's gonna allow us to have people out there when we're not around. When we first had them come in, they said, you can only have somebody farm it when our guys are there and everything, and we had problems with that, so, but he said it'll be just fine. Obviously it'll only be for a year, so.
Make a motion to approve to advertise bids for rent of Old Lagoon by transfer station.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, Brian,
Aye.
Jody,
Aye.
Tyler,
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Okay, now we'll go to number 13, discussion action updates to resolution regarding closure of Woodland Avenue between the schools.
For games.
No, this is in between the schools, this is what we
Oh,
talked
okay.
about.
Oh, that's
We talked
Um,
about it last week.
Yeah, and it's just up for discussion. I think Bruce had some comments on it last time that he felt it might be appropriate already the way it
Talked about it.
is, or.
You've got the old one in the packet, don't you, again? If there's any of it you need to clarify, I mean, I couldn't very well make up random, I don't know where you're headed, but if you wanna clarify, we can certainly, if it's a small amendment, we could do it, just call it, amend that resolution and be clear enough. If you wanna do something substantial, let's make notes and bring it next month again. What do you
I
need
made
to
notes
fix?
for this month, can we talk about it?
Sure, you're up.
I, thought we talked out loud that placement of barricades by the city police was to be coming out of there.
Yes, I don't have time to do that.
Yeah. And then, there was a discussion about the time on number 3, if it's gonna be from 7 to 5 or leave it at 7:45 to 4. That was just brought up for discussion, I don't think there was a conclusion.
Okay, well, one at a time. On your question of the police, I commented briefly, but the sentence goes on to say, or their agents as authorized by verbal or written authority. I would think we can just have the police department issue a letter to Joe the janitor and say, you are authorized to do this.
I don't, and besides, I don't know if they've done that, because I do know that Gail does put the barricades
Yeah,
in place,
That's
so.
what they've done.
And it also says verbal,
It
so,
does, I mean, it's just been kinda casual. If
Yeah.
you're concerned about it, do a little letter. But it's
I'm not
been
concerned
working.
about it, I don't think it needs to be in there, but you think legally it does?
What?
I don't think it needs to be in there. but do you think it does?
You mean who's gonna put up the barricades?
Well, yeah,
Just leave that out?
yeah.
I mean,
Barricades are gonna be there, and it's,
well, we left it vague enough that it's closed when the barricades are erected. And if you're gonna make that part of the law, I guess you need to be fairly clear about who can do that.
okay.
That makes sense.
I can get a letter together. I
And
don't
maybe
mind.
just for the purposes of somebody parking there when they're not supposed to, if it says that the chief of police, then that might be a little bit more, I don't know,
Enforceable,
scary
or, yeah.
than,
Yeah.
Bear a little more weight.
than Gail,
Yeah.
Celine, I mean,
Just as long as, and I'll talk to Darren or Kyle or who I need to at the school, just to let them know that I don't have time. I just
Right.
don't, and Andrew won't either, so,
No.
we can just let them
Well, it
know.
was never intended that the
No.
police do
Right.
it, they were always delegating it to somebody.
Yeah.
I could delegate it
Well, you
once.
wanna change it to say a letter from the chief of police?
Yeah, that kinda takes them out of having to physically
I mean,
be there or talk to anybody.
What I'm concerned about is that if it's not
Yeah.
reasonably
Clarify.
specific and provable, if you ever try and prosecute somebody for
Yeah.
blowing through there, the judge is gonna go, well, I can't enforce that.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, you gotta have it pretty clean.
I just bring it up because it was discussed
Yeah.
last time for clarification. Are we gonna change the time or not?
I don't think it needs to be changed.
At one time, we talked from 7 AM to 5 PM.
Was that for the parking?
Parking,
Okay.
Parking.
The parking, not the barricade.
yes. Is that gonna cause confusion?
I don't think so.
Okay, then we'll leave that the same. And then you said we're gonna get new signs because they're all faded?
Well, the
They'll
verbiage
leave
you
it
had
there.
doesn't match what we have up there.
It's same verbiage, but we're gonna have new signs. You can't hardly read them. No parking between the signs. If, I know that that's what it says, but
Yep.
you really have to look at it. Did you say you're gonna get new signs?
Absolutely.
Good, thank you.
Or no.
I think that's what you told me I said.
I think that's what you
I
said.
already said it.
Okay,
So just the one change then? Correct.
I think so.
So do you wanna try and pass it tonight and be done? I mean, and just say chief of police by written authority of the chief, well, in fact, it says,
It already says that.
Yeah.
just change it to written authority by the
Right.
chief of police.
And I'll get a letter sent.
Yeah.
Wanna pass it tonight then, Bruce, or bring it back?
Well, that's entirely up to you.
This is the second month we talked about it, why don't we pass it?
Sounds good.
Okay. Can we pass it before you write it up?
If you can convince Courtney to tolerate that, yeah.
Can we tolerate
I
that?
mean, if it's
What are you just taking out, verbal?
Yeah, pretty much.
well,
Yes,
it
pretty
could
much.
continue to read police officer, but if we're gonna change that sentence, why wouldn't we say Plainview City Chief of Police or their agents as authorized by written authority of Chief of Police? We leave out verbal and leave out police officers, just make sure it's clear that it's Chief of Police, written authority. I mean, that's a simple retype of that sentence, and there's no chance to make a mistake, I wouldn't think, if you
Yeah.
wanna say you're gonna pass that amendment to the resolution.
Yep. You okay with that, Courtney?
What's your reservation?
No, I'm just, that's a whole new resolution then. We're not just amending it, you're gonna have to do a new resolution, correct?
I would probably type it up for you. I mean,
Well, I know, but it's gonna be a completely new resolution.
Yeah,
Okay. I gotta think what number it is. Hang on.
We just do it next. we do
See
next month.
something.
Bring it back next month. That'd be better, Courtney?
That's fine, I'd rather it be clean cut and.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
We can do that.
Okay, so table
So
it
it's on
till
the
next
agenda
month.
Yeah.
Okay, number 14, discussion action updates to Keno grant application.
I handed some out. This was something that Green put a lot of heart and soul into. And this is what she suggested what a good application might look like. So if anyone wants to read through there, just some few verbiage change. It kind of matched what the actual goals were. And then essentially the application itself stayed pretty much the same, so there's really not much change in the application, more or less just the definition and description to start with. It was a whole page and kind of summed it up into 2 paragraphs.
We added email.
Yep, we did add the email. We did take out, the only thing I really think that we actually took out of there, because a lot of it was just going on about reasons why we did things. And the thing we did take out, it said the $1,000 limit, because it said there in one sentence have a $1,000 limit, and in the next sentence it said, well, unless you submit a special application with it. Like Corinne said, what's a special application? Because everybody used the exact same application we had, so it didn't really make much sense to keep it in there. If you guys want to utilize that still, fantastic, we can add it. It's really,
Looks like number 3 is taken out too, right?
yeah, well, I forget what number 3 was.
Statement for the
Yeah.
maintenance and future plans.
Oh yeah, like Corinne said, I don't know what you need a future maintenance plan for if you're gonna buy something like this, so.
Give them the grant they're spending and that,
Yep.
end of story.
Yep. And nobody's ever submitted a future maintenance plan, anything we've ever done anyway for it.
Make a motion to approve the updates to the FEMA grant application.
Second.
I'll second.
Brian,
Aye.
Jody,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
Tyler?
Aye.
Okay. Number 15, discussion action approval of corporate manager, Nebraska Liquor Control Commission, Casey's Retail Company, Christopher Siek.
So Casey's Corporate has a new manager, and they need this for their liquor license for the corporation, so.
Just a formality, isn't it?
Yep.
Make a motion to approve the Nebraska Liquor Control Commission corporate manager.
Second.
Christopher Seck. You have to say his name since he's changed.
Christopher Seck.
I'll second it.
Okay. Tyler,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
Jody,
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Okay. number
Courtney,
s-
this guy is the manager for the entire Casey's operation?
Yes.
This is not just the Plainview?
No, this is the corporate office. Yep.
Eliminate, you don't have to put anything different at summertime, so.
Right.
We don't, cause in summer schools, where is the summer school held at? In the elementary?
Yeah, but the
So-
street's not barricaded.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's not like you have this
Yeah.
number of students, so it shouldn't.
I think it's 4 hours too. I don't
Yeah.
think it's all day, so.
Is that legally enforceable?
It's for the safety of the
You-
kids.
You're leaving it up to someone to figure out what day we're having school. I'm just
Well,
curious.
it's kind of,
It's a fairly common practice, but
Yeah.
it's subject to people claiming stupidity, but you'll just have to deal with that.
He gets the point across, gets the job done, that's the point of the matter.
okay, looking for a motion then on resolution 663.
Make a motion to pass resolution 663.
Second it?
Tyler,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
Jody?
Aye.
Alright. Number 8, discussion action resolution number 664, nuisance property 107 West Locust Avenue, Plainview Pacific Town Site, first, head block lots 1, 16, 17, 18.
This resolution and the other 3, they're all kind of the standard form things just prepared by the office looking to turn these things over to prosecution. You at this point know more about them than I do.
I'll just come on. Do you guys have any questions about them that were in the packet? I mean, I can go down and explain it each if you'd like.
Well, the procedure, maybe you could tell us.
Probably should. Okay, so let me get my glasses on. That first, number 8, I don't know if I can say the name of the individuals, can I? I mean, it's public record,
Sure.
right? That's the Ratliff property. When I was talking to Luke, we had a meeting a couple months ago, and when he looked at these photos of the Ratliff property, he said that it didn't appear to be that much of a nuisance, just the piles of stuff that they have in the backyard. He said it looked more like a fire hazard, the house itself did. So he instructed me to reach out to Josh, the fire chief, maybe talk to the fire marshal about the property. So Josh, in fact, did that. The fire marshal's like, well, I'm not gonna get involved in like a city ordinance issue. Josh is like, really, if I look at the property, I can't just by looking at it from the outside say, yes, that's a fire hazard. The inside of the house, I know that there's some issues, but I can't just go in the house and say, okay, your house is a fire hazard. I'm gonna move forward with it being a nuisance property because there are piles of junk in the backyard that need to be removed. So Luke, I think once the snow melts and I continue to take more photos, I'll continue to press Luke about it a little bit to get this stuff cleaned up.
And make sure there that Luke is aware, I mean, there's also the broad definition topic of the condition of this property tends to depreciate the value of surrounding property. So rather than just, there's a pile of sticks, the overall condition is bad enough that it makes the neighborhood poor. That's a factor that can be talked about anyway.
Alright,
And Chrissy, so then do we offer some guidance on how they should do this, or you just say, clean it up? Cause your idea of cleaning mine are probably different.
they are, however, there's the ordinance that states, look, this is why it's a nuisance property, and that would be attached to the letter.
Okay.
We'll give them a certain amount of time based on the stuff that they have on that property.
Okay.
If I think, okay, 15 days is gonna be enough to get those 2 piles of stuff cleaned off your yard,
Mm-hmm.
then you've got 15 days. On that 15th day, if I see that there's progression and they need help, I'm not gonna just say, here you go, get it cleaned up. I might throw some ideas out there.
Mm-hmm.
But if on that 15th day, if I see 1 pile gone and they're working on a second, then I'm gonna maybe work with them a little bit more and give them some more time. If they aren't doing anything, it's going straight to litigation. It's gonna be a complaint you're gonna have to answer to the judge.
Okay.
So,
In the past, I think we kind of took that approach,
Yeah.
and it just,
We just keep going and going and
Yeah.
going. So is there an issue, does anyone think, about the ability to pay to have the junk moved away? Or get rid of?
yes, there is. However, there wasn't an issue when they brought the junk in.
Right.
Okay.
Might not be when they brought it.
Yeah, I know for a fact that it was, okay, they just didn't take it out to where they needed to take it to. It was easier for them to take it home and then it just kinda like, oh, we're just gonna leave it here.
Yeah.
So, if they have the means to take it to their property, they probably have the means to take it where they should take it, so.
Well, it comes down to, you know, how much stuff is too much stuff.
Right,
I mean, granted, some people's junk is other people's treasures, but
absolutely.
it's what Bruce said. It's the overall, what does it do to the neighborhood? I mean, and
We have a small house, you can't have a lot of stuff.
right, I mean, it's just the overall look,
Mm-hmm.
even though sometimes things are stacked up nice and look nice, there's just too much of it, I mean, I don't know,
So,
so.
We appreciate you helping those people out.
and I will, I mean, there's certain things that, you know, like maybe we can suggest or,
Mhm.
you know, hey, I wouldn't mind helping you, that kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
And then it's not just gonna throw them to the wolves,
Yeah,
but some of these properties have been like
We've
worked
talked
on
about
for years, so
yeah,
it's time.
yeah.
Yep.
Is there any help that can be provided to them, like, maybe let you, use the dump the facilities for no charge?
And where do you cut off for that?
I don't know,
Yeah,
that's,
we don't
Yeah.
know.
at
So
some
we'll give
point,
them a chance to do it first and then we'll
you
go
could
from
set a
there.
limit if the city can afford it, if maybe, I just
And there have
suggest.
been situations in the past where people were unable or unwilling to hire somebody and claimed they couldn't get it done, the city's offered up a dump truck or something. But that's gotta be after discussion starts and things like that.
Yeah, it's not out of the
And
question.
you
But
can't do it too excessively or
And we've opened the dump in the past, that 3-day,
Yeah,
and property still didn't get cleaned up,
Exactly.
so.
yeah.
But we'll work with them.
Oh.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like I'm gonna say, okay, you know, I mean, if there's gonna be circumstances
We've been
where-
through this for a few years.
I
Just
have
say
no
that
doubt
you've
you're going
opened,
to, just putting it on the record to clarify.
Yeah,
Okay.
say that you've opened it one day each year and they could have done it then. I understand that argument, but if you've done it for one day each year, you know, that's pretty much saying that, yeah, you could give them a deal and open it for them just to get their stuff dumped.
we've always
So,
worked with
but-
people.
But, if you would, Christie, if you would like to, it's up to you. I will absolutely volunteer to do all I can to help clean it up. I got a pickup in a trailer and I got the time.
Okay, thank you.
If anybody ever, if there's anything I can do to help anybody ever, I'll do everything I can.
All right.
Told you that.
Yep, you have. Okay, the next,
Do we need to?
oh, I'm sorry,
That's-
sorry guys.
I'll make a motion to pass resolution 664.
I second.
Okay, Jody,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
alright. Number 9, discussion action resolution number 665, nuisance property 212 North Plum Street. I'll just leave it at that.
Barb Fredericks,
Yes.
I do believe it's progressively getting worse. I was by there last week. Her van is completely packed even, and I know that's not on her property, but I know if the van looks like it is, and the house is full too. The backyard looks exactly the same. The front yard is completely garbage. Her house is starting to deteriorate, and she's sleeping in her car. So I don't know, years past, I know she's been fined before, and she's taken it to court, but we need to move forward with this property, cause it's been like that for the last 2-3 years.
Because I understand that it's actually the property of her father
That is correct.
who did help, and so, for respect for him, I think we need to help Barb get this cleaned up for his property.
Yeah, we've been down that road too.
Yeah.
Well, I spoke to the family. Walt is not doing well. He's on hospice.
Oh, is it?
They did say that they don't want us to stop, but just to give them a little, just let us know, he is on hospice. He is not doing well. So it's gonna be Barb's responsibility probably shortly to take care of this, because it will be willed to her.
And recognize this kind of becomes a downside of the prosecution technique instead of the nuisance cleanup order that we go in and do. Because if they're willing to stand a $500 fine and do nothing, you just have to keep after them, and eventually it would become painful enough. But, the nuisance cleanup order process, cumbersome though it may be, gets you a little more quick action. Now, in the course of a conviction, if it's prosecuted and there's a conviction, the judge can also order cleanup. And so that would be another way to have it work. If you end up with a prosecution, you probably want to remember to have him ask for that, in this case at least, so that you can do something. But from what I've heard of Jody's comment, I don't think Walt's gonna survive the month.
Probably
Not
not the
well at
week.
all. So, certainly ought to try to leave Walt out of it, just under the letter.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not asking that it's taken off. They just want us aware that it's not gonna be Walt's property much longer. It will be willed to her, and it will be her responsibility at that point.
And based on the weather, the snow, I mean,
Yeah.
we can get the resolution, Luke can get me the letters, and again, guys, it's winter time and we've got how much
It's gonna
snow?
be spring before
It's
you can
gonna
do
be
anything.
springtime before we're gonna be able to do anything. So that's also gonna buy them some time as well. I just wanna get it moving forward, so that when the time comes, when this snow goes away and we can help them, then we're gonna help them. And I'll work with them, especially considering that, I mean, we're not those kind of people that, I don't care about your family situation, we're gonna work with you on that, so.
You got a lady sleeping in her car.
she chooses to.
in this town?
Mm-hmm.
She got no one place to sleep?
She's been fine, we've addressed it with her before.
For
No,
what
no heat in the house?
Person.
Oh, she's got facilities,
Yeah,
She's
got
choosing to do
building
this,
it.
really,
She
right?
just has a problem.
yeah,
For what it's worth, you know, she went to Foster
yeah.
and bought a property
Mm-hmm.
and started filling it up.
Just full.
And one of the
Mhm.
people from the Foster board just went to her and said, there's no hearing, there's no nothing, that's all going away next week unless you come get it out of here. So they didn't really go with much, but they got it done,
Right,
and she cleaned up the outside anyway. I have no idea what the current status is.
I thought they had passed an ordinance in Foster that nothing on the sidewalk. So that's what they enforced, was their ordinances. We have an ordinance that says nothing on the sidewalk.
she's gainfully employed too. You know,
Yes.
she is, she's not a dumb lady,
No,
And
it's
she's
just,
by
it's
any
just
stretch
a
of the word, but
mental
it
problem.
is.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, otherwise,
yeah, she's,
I
would absolutely-
therefore move that we accept resolution, pass resolution
Yes.
665.
Second that.
Okay, Jody,
Aye.
Reagan,
Aye.
Tyler?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to number 10, discussion action resolution 666, nuisance property 214 East Locust Avenue.
that is Don Dasher Jr.'s house. That's, I'm pushing for that to be condemned and take it demolished. However, his sister Beth, we've been talking, she's come into the office several times, she's cleaned up the White House next to the west of it. But I told her, I said, we're gonna move forward with getting rid of this one, cause it needs to come down, and Luke was in agreement with that, he said, absolutely. Looking at the foundation, the roof,
It's an old
the front
house.
porch, it's been on fire before, they
Yeah.
saved it from burning, and Luke said, moving forward with this being condemned won't be a problem. However, Beth said, come April, May timeframe, she's gonna do it herself. Okay, I appreciate that, but I still wanna move forward with getting it done. In case she chooses not to,
Agreed.
this property is bringing possums and raccoons and rats, and people have taken pictures of them, so it definitely needs to be condemned and demolished.
I make a motion to pass resolution 666.
Second.
Tyler?
Aye.
Reagan,
Aye.
Jody.
Aye.
Okay. Number 11, discussion action resolution 667, nuisance property 406 North 4th Street.
Kevin Rasmussen now owns this property. Did you guys look at the pictures, the photos?
Yes.
Okay, so when I talked to Luke about this one, the foundation, when you walk up to the front of the house, he dug about a 2-foot trench, cause Kevin felt that he could raise the house, move it back, lay down the dirt foundation, and then set the house back down and it'd be safe. We were having issues up there, I was in the house, Wes Thorson was in the house, when you step on the floor, you can feel it give, cause there's nothing in the basement supporting it. There were jacks holding this house up. Well, I told Luke that I wanted this one to come down as well, it needs to be, it's unsafe, and Kevin bought it from Sadie Everhart, and he was going to move a family in, and she was wheelchair bound, and I said, don't buy the house, cause I'm moving forward, getting it condemned and coming down. Well, Luke looked at the pictures, and he's like, this one might be a little bit harder to win without a professional coming in, or a contractor coming in and saying, yeah, the foundation is garbage, this house is not safe, it should come down. I have talked with the North Fork health inspector, and I sent him pictures, and he said, just by looking at it, absolutely. But we would still need that in writing from him, so that if we move forward with it and we present it to the judge, he's got that paperwork saying, yeah, this house is not safe to be lived in.
Yeah.
Cause Kevin still has intentions of renting it out.
Have you talked to him recently?
I have not.
Yeah, that's probably.
But
still-
he knew, I didn't mince words with him.
Yeah.
I made it very clear to him that whatever you tell me, I'm not gonna work with you on this. You knew before you paid for that house that you're wasting your money and time, because I'm gonna move forward with getting this thing to come down.
So yeah, I guess if we move it forward, maybe we'll hear from him.
Absolutely.
Are you asking for permission to get that contractor?
She just needs it written.
from him to come look at it. We'll have to pay him. Pierce,
Yeah.
City of Pierce uses this guy. His name is Adam. They use him for everything. And actually that's who recommended him, was Pierce PD. And I reached out to him, gosh, it was last summer. And I just needed some guidance on how to move forward with this. I didn't know, cause I'm no expert obviously. And he said, well, this is how we do it, and I don't have that paperwork in front of me, and I'll probably send it out to you guys so you can see how Norfolk does it, but, if we could just get him to come in once or twice on a couple properties to give us his recommendation, that's really all I would need. And that's all Luke would need to prosecute. Kevin knows that house is garbage, it needs to come down.
So if we send this to Luke, is his recommendation gonna be to demolish it,
Well,
or how does that work?
he said that one's a fine line, you know, he doesn't wanna waste our money and take it to court and then lose, and now we have to start all over again, get the contractor to come in. Cause yeah, I can go up to that house and say, yeah, I believe that that's unsafe, you could, and the judge is like, well, what are your credentials? Who are you and what is your, expertise in this field? So, I mean, if you, Bruce, have,
So the toughie there is, you know, are you gonna write him a letter and give him an opportunity to recover? I mean, he'll go in and do $200 worth of work and say, okay, it's good now. Maybe you should wait until you have the inspector before you do the formal procedure. And then if the guy says not salvageable, well, then you got something to go on. Then you can say demolish. I mean, if you think he'll come fairly promptly if you try and hire him?
with the snow right now, probably not, I would think maybe, cause it's buried. You know, do we go in there and dig the snow out, or, I mean,
Did I hear you say that he was planning to rent to a wheelchair-bound person?
he had it, well, she died.
Well, that's probably, I don't think she could get up the front yard to get in there in the first place. It's certainly not handicap accessible.
No, it's not. He had a ramp over the trench to go in the front door, and they were actually moving in the process, and then she passed away. But, I guess that's a good question. I don't know that getting a contract up here now to look at it, I mean, you could go in the house, I guess, and,
No, if you're talking about him looking inside,
yeah.
is there a crawl space or a basement, or there must be a basement or something?
There's a basement, but the
So we
windows are not there, and there's a window out the back.
You need something to move soon, either do the inspector
Yeah.
or do a letter and tell him, you know, you can work on this if you want, but we're calling an inspector and we think you're wasting your
I
time.
think we better call the inspector.
Okay.
I agree,
Yeah.
we might as well get somebody that knows what they're has the authority to say it's
I
bad.
mean, I know if we all went out there and looked at it, we'd be like, yeah, the house is
Yeah.
bad,
You
but
can right by it and see it.
It's
Inspector
been
would
bad
be
for a long
official.
time, it's not recent.
no.
So,
You can pass it, so I think it's still getting.
We can pass it, yeah,
Prosecute
'cause-
an inspector.
And that would be our next move.
Yeah.
That's how he deems fit, your legal counsel, if he says that's what you should have to prosecute, that's what you have to prosecute.
How you
as an inspector.
proceed is still a separate question.
What's that?
How you
Yeah.
proceed from here is still a separate question.
Yeah, that's how.
Get it defined anyway, that it's currently a problem.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a Luke, that's a Luke question.
Sure, I can ask that, so, only thing Luke is waiting on is just resolution so that we can move forward on this project.
Resolution passed 667.
second it,
Okay, Ernie,
aye.
Tyler,
Aye.
Jody? Aye. Okay, so then you'll talk to Luke about that.
Yep, I will,
Great,
definitely.
thank you.
Alright, thanks guys.
Thanks, Christie.
Guys, gals.
Thank you.
Okay, number 12, discussion action, advertise to accept bids for haying of lagoons.
We just do this every year, obviously, for the hay around there.
Make a motion to start advertising to accept bids for the haying of the lagoons.
I'll second.
All right, Jody?
Aye.
Ernie?
Aye.
Tyler?
Aye.
Hopefully we get some rain, and actually have some lagoon hay, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
Number 13, discussion action, approval of 20 DTR 005 drawdown. Number 13, or is that number 13? Is that $1,169.63?
These are just admin fees from for the December, January admin fees.
DTR 005 drawdown number 13 for $1,169.63.
Second it.
All right, Tyler,
Aye.
Jody,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
okay. Number 14, discussion action, ACE membership distribution funds, 2022, the amount of $4,114.
This comes from the amount of people who choose ACE for the volume of gas and for us attending meetings and governing the body. So, yeah, obviously this year about a little over $4,000. The Parks Board would like to update picnic tables around town, so we'd like to start with this in the packet. They match the green ones. I don't know what color we'll choose, but this is the same style as what's the new ones down at the Band Shell Park. So they'd like to know if they could utilize that money to purchase for.
Are they gonna add up the rest? Unless I don't know how to multiply by 4, they're a little short.
We had budgeted to pay for the rest from
So
the
the
parks.
parks would pay the rest
Yep.
for the 4, because it should come to 4,720.
Yep, we're aware of that.
Okay.
It doesn't. So,
Good.
unless someone wants to put it somewhere else, that's.
So we need a motion on that?
A motion to approve the ACE member distribution funds 2022 for $4,114 to purchase 8-foot picnic tables times 4.
We'll have a big check for you can take a picture with too, Bob.
I'm looking forward to that. Got a second on that?
I'll second it.
Jody,
Aye.
Green,
Aye.
Tyler?
Aye.
Okay. Number 15, discussion action, advertise for part-time police officer.
I should have just stayed up
You should sit over there. That's silly.
Just stayed right up here.
You better move the podium.
I'm old as that and been doing this much walking.
Move the podium over.
Right. Alright, so I've got a couple in mind. I've been kind of harping Wes. You guys know Wes Orson, he works for Pierce County. Come on over, give me a couple days off in the month, that'd be awesome. I have another one in mind, his name is Ron Westlake. He just moved to Foster. He is a 20-year veteran of the Air Force, but he also was working part-time in Antelope County as a deputy, and then he worked for Neely PD for a few years, and he just recently left, on whatever terms over there from Antelope County. But Ron would not want a whole lot of hours. I just want 4 or 5 days off a month. So that's really kind of all I'm looking for out of Wes too. Wes is up here quite often, so I'm still kind of pushing with him, like, come on over Wes, help me out. I haven't really dug my heels in to kind of get him to come, because I wanted to make sure that it was okay with you guys, if I could get somebody to come in and help me out a little bit. Dan is part-time here, but the reason I want a part-time officer so I can spend some time with my family. And if he's working on the days that I'm working, I won't get to see him, so, I've got the 2 in mind, and with you guys' approval.
Are you planning on keeping it, so when Andrew gets back, would they still stay on?
I'll keep him on the roster just in case. You know, there might come a time where Andrew and I both something comes up where we both need time off.
Be nice to have somebody experienced to sit in.
Yeah, and they're already certified, so it's not like they have to go to the academy or anything.
Do we have that in the budget?
We'll make it work.
Talking about a fellow that was working law enforcement and just recently left there.
I am.
Do you know why he left there though? Certainly.
I do. I choose not to share that because it's not my story to tell, and there's 2 sides to every story.
I always said 3, you were finding the truth, but
Yeah.
I get your meaning, but
Yeah.
still, I'd sure like to know who you hired, why they left their previous law enforcement job. You go
Is there
hire
a wage set for part-time?
I don't think that's,
Oh, we can talk about that when they.
When they accept?
Yeah.
But she'll
Okay.
want to interview them and she might negotiate or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
All right.
Based on their experience and,
Figure it out next.
yeah.
You have your own policy, little things that you follow anyways.
Sounds
when it
good.
was dismissed.
I left on his own.
Alright,
Yep, I'll make a motion to advertise for a part-time police officer.
I second.
All right. Tyler,
Aye.
Green,
Are we saying officer or officer? Is that
Officer.
technicality? I know, but
Just one.
Yes.
do we want 2?
Just one.
Well, you might want to go with officers plural because literally you might have hired 3 guys and they might only work 1 day
Yeah.
each month.
That's
I
true.
forgot to mention, Mike Saney's still on my roster, by the way, as a reserve officer. I think the last time he was used was in 2019. Academy just reached out to me and said, hey, is Mike Saney still on your roster? If not, we need to do a employment change of status for him. Well, I would use Mike, but he's spending a lot of time over helping out Neely and Antelope County, cause they're short-staffed as well, so, I'm gonna leave Mike on the roster if you, just because I am. I mean,
Yeah,
he might be a
for
go-to
maintenance.
as well, so.
Might be an emergency
Yeah.
situation.
Okay, number 16.
Did you get a second to vote?
I seconded.
Or we voted?
Did you vote?
I'm gonna vote for, I did. I'm gonna vote for officers plural, yes.
Okay, we're voting on officers plural.
Aye.
Tyler?
Aye.
Okay, so, officers. Number 16, discussion action, updates, City of Plainview personnel manual, wage and hourly costs.
So this is something, we're gonna see this for a while now. Essentially, we're just gonna start going through our handbook. There just needs to be a lot of updates. It's dated, and honestly, it doesn't make a lot of sense when I read it or when our personnel committee reads it. Thank you to Hunter, Kareem, and Bob. We did a ton of revision multiple times, and this is what we came up with. So we think it's a lot clearer, and it pertains a lot more towards how we operate.
I take it you recognize this is office and personnel committee business. I haven't reviewed it, I haven't been asked to review it. I'm not gonna demand to review it.
I thought you said you were gonna
If
take it
you're
to him.
happy with
We
it,
did get it. We
You
got
did
a
get
packet, yeah.
well, we've got it, but I have no idea what you're thinking or what you're changing or why you're doing anything, so I.
Did he not get the original and the changes?
Here's everything you got.
Oh, it's here, what's your question?
What's your question?
My point is, I know nothing about this and I haven't looked at it. That's all I want you to know.
He just made a statement that he didn't,
Okay.
he didn't,
I thought you were
He
gonna
wasn't
do
asked to
something.
be in on it when you changed it,
And
that's
that's
Well, I
all.
didn't
okay
think
with,
he
and
had
that's
to be.
okay with me.
yeah.
Just a statement.
Okay.
And we really didn't change a whole lot of things, it's more clarified a lot of things.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
Just
So,
wording.
Yep.
Some things were in there that should have been in a different part of the manual.
Yep.
And I understand why you did it. It's 6.5 pages down to 2.5, so it probably would have taken you a little time.
You should have invited him to the meeting.
You should have.
Then,
Yeah.
She would have got a kick out of it.
I think you'll like it though.
Everybody get a chance to read it over?
I-
Yeah.
He didn't.
Well,
He's not voting.
He's not voting,
No.
so.
I make a motion to approve the updates for the City of Plainview Personnel Manual Wage and Hourly Policy.
Okay. Second?
I'll second it. Well, because we're both on the committee, so I didn't know if we could.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, Tyler? Are you?
yes.
Jody?
Aye.
All right. Number 17, discussion action dismissal of previously appointed sex offender committee.
And this really just came about because we have a lot of people who I've been told that our council gets approached about this sex offender committee. And we need it off there because I don't know who they are, what it is before my time. And I think after talking with Chris and everything, we've pretty much done everything to the extent of the law that we can, so.
All I could find in meeting minutes was when it was talked about and there was gonna be a committee, but we never had names in the minutes, so I have no
Right.
idea who was even on the committee, and that's the
Yeah, I
fact.
It was just
Actually, a whole
talked
year.
about,
It
yeah,
was 2
we
years
had an
ago, 3
incident.
years ago.
Yeah, we had an incident.
Julie Burkhouse was on, I believe.
Tyler Wells was on it too, he told me that, and he said he tried shutting that down right away,
Yeah.
so.
Yes.
And for what it's worth, I mean, this was when the mayor and council were having difficulty getting the stories and the reports of such things, and there was a lot of activity that was concerning, so they just decided to have a committee to study it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're getting it handled in normal channels, then just as well do away with it.
This is more a cleanup than it is a.
Yeah, just a
What were
dispute.
they handling?
They were just
I'll
supposed to
make a
take
motion
reports
to
and
dismissal
investigate
previously appointed
what's
sex offender
otherwise
committee.
happening,
I'll second
and
it.
then report back
Okay,
to the
Jody?
Aye.
city.
Aye.
Tyler? All right, moving on to number 18, discussion action updates to resolution regarding closure of Woodland Avenue between schools.
This is something that we brought up. It's yet again going through policies and things. what the resolution says is not how we operate. If you'll go through there, it says that the police will put up all the barricades and they have to put them in the intersections, and obviously if anybody goes to school now, the school handles it, they put them closer together, right where the kids are walking across. I did email Darren about it, let him know, he said, I appreciate it. I told him it's gonna be hopefully just a cleanup process, and he said he's satisfied, so.
I mean, no,
Sorry, I steal your thunder.
fine, I was like, man,
Sorry.
here I come, I'm just slow. We were looking at it, just kinda cleanup thing, and it says that police department is supposed to put them in place and take them down. Well, I mean, that's all fine and good.
Or agents authorized by authority of the chief of police, and it's always been the school people, hasn't it?
No, so it used to be Bruce used to do it.
What?
It used to be Bruce used to do it every morning.
And I would like to
I
appoint,
have no
but,
idea.
yeah, Bruce did do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he usually sat out there long ago, yeah, or at least when I was going to school.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's not that I don't want to, it's just that I don't always have time to.
You shouldn't have to.
And,
Well, number 2 says we'll be placing the barricade, so school wants it, I don't think it's gonna be an issue of not being put up. And everybody kinda knows what it is about.
and where they're supposed to be
Yeah.
placed is on the corner of,
Yeah, a little further away,
right, on the corners of the high school.
yeah.
And they're much closer, which I like better anyway, just for the simple fact that there's more parking available for whoever needs to get up there, so.
So are you looking to change words tonight, or?
Yeah, we just wanted you to look at it. Yeah, if the barricades move, we'll have to change some wording in there to make it how we operate. So we just wanted to look at tonight, and then we can always bring it back.
And why was it put on the police department? Just curious, cause the street's being closed, or I mean,
I have
No, I
as
mean,
long
the
as
school wanted it, correct?
Well, you can't delegate creation of law to the janitor at the school. So we had to say something about the city will approve it, the police will approve it.
I understand that part of it, but it says the police department will place the barricades.
Or an
Or
agent
your
agent.
authorized.
And did they authorize the school? I don't know.
I
Yeah,
have no
they did
idea, I
authorize
thought
the
they always just told the janitor, go ahead and put up your barricade.
Gail did usually in the mornings, he does.
Yeah.
I heard Bunky used to do it all the time.
What are you
when he was
doing?
there.
I'm not saying I'm above it, I'll go do it if I had time. Sure,
Well, you don't
I've
want-
offered a few
Yeah,
times.
but you don't wanna do it.
You can't get a day off, what are you gonna do with barricades?
You know what? Is that a loaded question? I mean, okay, so.
and it's easy. If you ever watch them, they take care of them after the end of
Yeah.
the day. They
Yeah.
move them. So
Routine.
if
I
we
mean,
make it
I
just-
think it's fine as it's written, because it says, or their agents as authorized by verbal or written authority of the chief of police. I mean, I don't see any
Well, because it
problem
says,
with it.
the placement of the barricade shall be only by the then she has to, do you have to write down who you dictate to and all that?
I don't dictate.
Just- it's
I
a
just
mess.
ask, but
They're
I mean,
already doing it.
That part's fine, but
Yeah.
it's the
it's the
placement.
placement of them, because right now they're not at the corners anymore.
Oh, so we
that
gotta
doesn't
change
follow
that
it.
wording.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of like in between the parking spots, you know, the.
So we need to just
Right.
change it to the wording to say at the corners of the high school?
Well, they're already there. They're already on the corners of.
Right.
But they're supposed to be, but they need, the way that they have them, just placed by the school as they deem necessary. I mean, they can put them where they want to, within the
just block.
block.
I recognize that number one says the signs go at the intersections. The
Oh, the
barricade,
signs indicating
the
the closure.
closure is indicated by the placement of the barricades, wherever they damn well please.
I wish it.
But if you want it to be reworded, fine, come up with some language you're happy with and we'll get it retyped.
Do you know off the top of your head what happens to them if somebody does go through there? According to that,
Well, if somebody runs it, we want it to have at least some teeth that this is a city authorized process and so it's a crime and you can be
Yeah.
ticketed and fined.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the whole idea, is to have some, if you just gave the school the right to put up barricades, well,
yeah.
but this is a traffic regulation that is arguably enforceable.
Okay.
Yeah,
If,
so.
if you think it fits, fine, Bruce. We just read it and yeah.
Well,
I think it meets all the
Number 3
criteria.
will have to
I'm
change
just gonna look over
times.
Go from the top.
Number 3 has to change the
Signs
times.
at the intersections is number one.
Right, Are there any
Closure
signs
is
that get
in-
put up?
Number 2 is
Okay.
closure is indicated by placing barricades to block traffic on Woodland Avenue. Doesn't say where.
And then
Mm,
the
yeah.
closures
And-
from 7:45 to 4.
Which would need to
But that's good.
probably,
That's changed from 7 to 5 according to our last.
Or other times
7 to
during
5.
activities at either school.
No parking.
And you, yeah, or the one that you just passed is
For-
5, I believe.
right,
isn't it?
7 to 5, right?
75.
But when do they pull them? Don't they pull them as soon as the buses are gone?
They
Well,
do.
you'd want it to say 7:45 to 4 because when you're having basketball games and
Yeah.
such, you want to be able to park there.
Yeah, or other times when needed during
Right.
activities. You know, they can barricade if need be.
They're in place before 7:45 though,
Could be.
sometimes, so.
Well, if you wanna fiddle
I mean,
with
I
it,
don't-
rewrite it a little bit, there's no
Always
big
brought it up to
deal.
discuss it, yeah, and if it's great, fantastic.
Well, make it so that, you know, we're comfortable with it,
I mean,
giving orders.
I was thinking like, I read that, I must have misinterpreted that, the signs,
Number 1, yeah.
right? Signs indicating, so. And the intersection, yep, and the signs are there.
Well, you don't need action tonight, if you wanna just have a general understanding that it'll be talked about, there may be a change coming next month, if you decide you want
Okay.
one.
Yeah.
There's no harm in rewording it some if it's not clear.
Okay, do you have a motion?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, talk about it next time.
Moving on to number 19, then, discussion action, updates to the Keno grant application.
And this is just, again, we're going through trying to clean up some things, hasn't looked at for a few years. We're not looking for any action tonight. If you want something to be in there, if you want something out of there, it's entirely up to you guys.
So I asked Courtney about the quarterly, some people thought maybe as we get the requests at a council meeting, we could approve or disapprove. But she needs to do things from the state on a quarterly basis, right? So that would make her life and probably the state happier if we left it at quarterly.
It's been working fine too. So.
And but the second paragraph says to me it says it's for the youth, but we don't just give it to the youth. Is that how you guys read it or not?
We'll be given priority.
Priority.
The concept behind this program will be to foster community pride and create opportunity to youth who are looking for improvements in the community. Well, there's other people besides the youth that look for improvements in the community.
Yeah, I think it's for community growth, and then if anything, for like municipality as well, is usually what it's.
I just want to take, I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't get, I'm saying it should not be restricted to just youth.
I don't think it is restricted, it's community pride and opportunity for you.
I think the word "and" in there.
Well,
It
then
may
maybe
be-
it's for youth, because two youth sounds like that.
This is kinda like your Woodland Avenue ordinance.
Yeah.
If you wanna clarify it, prepare some language you think is a little better, and we'll do that.
Yeah, that's what it's for.
Well, and we've not had a maximum amount requested, it'll only be $1,000. Have we? Have we limited people to only $1,000 request?
No.
Yeah, it's up to
No,
you
I
guys.
think that's clearly wrong, the way you've been running it.
Thank you.
Okey-dokey.
So I guess we're gonna talk about this one next time too, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Well, the Keno applications have always been a bit fuzzy, it sure wouldn't hurt to lay this out a little better.
Okay.
We did find in some old meeting minutes from 2010 that the council voted that it was a 6-month, like from the time you got approved, you had 6 months to get your reimbursement for your Keno. So we don't have funds sitting out there for a year waiting to get paid out. So you should know that you're gonna get your money. I mean, we should have to hang on to money for a whole year. Once you request it, you should have 6 months to collect
Get
it.
to going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something that can be added to your application so people are aware of that.
Might not hurt if you're gonna talk it over, you could just pull the statutes on Keno. So I mean, some of this is based on the requirements of the Keno statute.
Mhm.
But some of it is very much discretionary too, and I can't tell you letter and verse what's what without pulling it. They might, unlike medicine, which is simple, they change the law every year, so you gotta keep
Yeah.
looking it up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you're gonna look at the statutes and report back to us?
Well, I could pull the Keno statute and get
I
it
could
to
send it.
Jeremy or get it to
Okay.
somebody, but that will indicate to you what of this is kind of mandatory and what is discretionary.
Okay,
I would say most of it's kind of discretionary from what I've read. A lot of it's, like I said, mostly for the community and except for politics is really what it's not meant for, but, we can send it out to you in email.
are we having a discussion about this, or are we just gonna think about it? Are you gonna call for a meeting?
What?
When are we going to discuss this? After Bruce brings it,
Bruce said, look it up, they'll send it to us.
and you're all
And
gonna
then
bring your
we'll forward
ideas
it
when
out.
we come back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Come with some proposals next month.
Craft it next month,
Okay,
be there.
bring your notes.
Okay,
We enjoy your company.
I guess
We'll wait
we're
till
moving on.
You wanna have a pre-meeting?
Moving on to number 20, discussion league model ordinances.
Oh, boy.
This is
That's you,
something
Bruce.
I
Y'all,
like to-
y'all read all those?
Well, I'm
Yeah.
giving that right on over to you.
There are two in the mix that are rather general, one about animals, one about trespassing. The rest of them, just from an overview standpoint, are all conforming Plainview City Code to the new state law for budgeting and reports and treasurer and this and that. All of those that are budgeting and reports and treasurer and must follow the state law, if you're gonna have anything in your code book, you pretty much need to have that. So unless Courtney has read some of them and has a problem with them, I think as we go through them, that's kind of the quick analysis of the budget, treasurer, and report thing is, you gotta do this. Either that or you have nothing in your city code and you just go by the state statute. But it's kinda nice to have it in the city code and have it for reference. So with that said up front, if you look at, and I think, Courtney and I had a little discussion about what the numbers were and what had happened, but I think we have her number one now that came to you guys, starts at the top, property tax levy,
Yeah.
authority to spend. That's one of those that is the change of fiscal policy law by the state. I think you have a little choice. If you want your code to be correct, you need to pass that. So I would say that's a yes, if you will. And remember, the way we've done this in the past is pick those out that you're sure you want, and then I'll go through the code book, find a place to put them that makes sense, and maybe something that says, and repeal the old one if it's a direct contradiction. So it's kind of clean by the time you're ready to vote on it, but just tonight guidance on which ones you're gonna do. So that's probably a yes, Courtney's number one. The number two is how to adopt budget statements, timing to file it, harmonize with state law, same thing. I mean, that's a financial requirements of the state, I would think we need to do that. Number three is the animal one. Animal abandonment and neglect. It wouldn't change much of the city code, we've got some of that. They're adding, the thing you see at the middle of the second page, enforcement powers and immunity. It shall be the duty of law enforcement who believes an animal has been abandoned or cruelly neglected to make a prompt investigation. So you gotta, prioritize going out to check on somebody's cat. But I guess it doesn't hurt to say that, that's what the state law says now. I mean, it was some animal rights folks that wanted to protect abused animals that added this to the program. I don't think it's a bad provision. You wouldn't wanna overdo this question of what is prompt investigation. We don't have people having to break in and check on abused dogs in Plainview very often. but it's probably an okay ordinance. You wanna call it a yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Get it ready to go, at least. You still gotta vote on it.
We might have a police dog one day, you never know.
Heck,
I got one at the house.
No. We'll cover you.
the next one, Courtney's number 4. There are trespass laws in the state statutes and in Plainview now. I think their intention there is because of the vandalism that has happened with transformers and such, they've added on, notice they bolded it here, public power infrastructure facility is a trespass against the public and we can prosecute you for that. That's probably okay. I mean, I certainly don't need any outbreak of people damaging transformers. So again, probably a yes.
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 And then, as you go on from there, number 5 is minutes and how you keep them. That's it adds the possibility of electronic records. I would think wanting to go to fully electronic minutes is probably not Plainview yet, but you can still keep paper minutes too. It just allows for the possibility. I guess if you keep a file on the computer, you can say there's some minutes in the file, but the paper minutes are probably still gonna be the deal for Plainview, largely. But no harm, huh? So
No harm.
probably
yes.
again,
Yeah.
yes. And then that's true all the way down. Heard Courtney 6, talk about property tax levies and increases and when they can be done and notices and how you have to do them. Yeah, if that's the law and the details, I think you need to do that. 7, budgets, when you prepare the proposed budget, when you file it, how it goes, same story. It's financial management requirements according to state law, it's a yes.
Yes.
8 is also more on budget statements, same deal, I don't think you really have a choice. You gotta do what the state law says. This would bring the code up to snuff. And number 9, the business of harmonizing with state law on recall petitions. That too, and these folks are not the best at describing to us exactly what sentence they changed. I mean, I have not spent hours doing word by word to try and find what sentence they changed, I'll give you that. But again, if this is the current version of recall procedures, that's what you need. And number 10, updating stuff on sale of real property. That certainly is something we run into all the time, and you need to do it. They added that a sale must conform to the statute number 32-628. If there's a remonstrance, it must conform to that. Quite frankly, I didn't even go look at it. I mean, that's what the new state law says. If you're gonna have a remonstrance, you have to conform to that. Okay, I don't think we've ever had a remonstrance in the 50 times that Plainview has sold a little piece of property. It's not impossible, but you just as well say, sure, conform to state law.
I missed that word, what does remonstrance mean?
They are supposed, if you do what we have done here in the past and pass a resolution, we're thinking of selling this piece of property. If people get up essentially a petition against it and get enough people to sign and says, don't do it, we don't want the city to sell this, then the code says it shall not be sold or brought back up for at least another year. It just takes it off the book if they file such a thing.
Okay.
That's pretty unlikely, but it's possible.
Okay.
You know, I think they passed it, for instance, for places in the city, well, that crummy little park out there, we don't need that, there's not many people use that park. But the people that live around it like having their park, and so they protest getting rid of it or something like that. But we've never had much of a problem with it, mostly when you've got property to sell, it's some vacant lot that you tore a house off or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
So all the way down the line, I think you probably need to consider all of them. And if you want, if you're thinking the same way, I will get this numbered and check the business of what do we need to repeal, and they'll be back to you next week or next month. Okay, good?
Sounds good.
Yep. Got your work cut out for you.
Well, that doesn't take too long, but it does take paying attention. You don't want 2 or 3 things in your code book that are all contradictory, so you need to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, good.
Number 21, council comments. Anybody got anything? Ready?
Nope.
Before we adjourn, I've agreed to let Billy Ray make some comments in a span of 5 minutes that he's agreed to. And also, before he starts, just yesterday and today, Jeremy and Courtney and I have been talking, we're going to, in the future, we're going to add public comments to the agenda, but there will be parameters, what those comments will be, and when people comment to the council, there will be no back and forth discussion. It'll be what your comments are, and then we're done. So having said that, we got 5 minutes.
How many minutes are gonna be allowed, 3? The future ones,
Fine.
or we 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
We gotta figure it out, Jeremy's gonna work on that. As far as tonight, I told Billy Ray 5 minutes, and then, so.
I appreciate that you finally recognized, my right to speak. And next month, we can talk about, proper, on paper, procedural allowances. And, things like that, whether you're gonna want people to identify themselves when it's time to get to speaking. And, I appreciate being willing to consider accommodating civil rights as they're protected under the First Amendment. And that's all I have to say.
Oh, yeah, all right, good enough.
But, just to let you folks know, if there's ever been anything I can do for anybody in town, you can always
Yeah,
call me.
that's good to know, thank you for that.
And did you ask you what, happened with the light that was on the shelf down there at the city office? We talked about, would it, the city office, did it happen to, that light happen to work at the, on the light pole for the park?
Nope,
Won't work?
didn't put it up.
Did they check to see if that had worked?
Nope.
I would tell the light poles in the city park and the band shell was addressed at the last Legion meeting. Both have been taken care of. The city park is illuminated, and we have gone to the city nest for a new light for the banner, for the baseball field.
Really? And so the flag in the park is gonna be took care of?
It's illuminated by the street light that's there.
Well, and it's illuminated well enough that you aren't even gonna check and see if the light you got on the shelf that nobody knows what it's for?
It's
They fi-
illuminated.
They figure out what that light's for? That they
I
already
don't know
bought
about
sitting
that
on the
light.
shelf?
I just know that
And
we
the
addressed
NPPD
it.
put it up for free if it'll work. Why wouldn't you
Do
use
we
it
have
if
a
it'll
motion
work?
to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn,
Why wouldn't you use it why wouldn't you use that light that you got
Motion to.
if it'll work?
all in
I'll second.
favor?
They'll do it for free. I'm asking you a damn question, answer me!
What did I just say?
My 5 minutes up?
Yep.
What did I just say before?
You sons of bitches.
We're not going back and forth on discussions, especially ones we've already had.
Why the hell wouldn't you use it if you got it? Why not even ask them if it'll work? Will it work for something else? Is it for something?
You also
If it's
gotta be
for something, then
sensible.
say so.
You also gotta be sensible in your discussion too.
I do. You got that wrote down, and I gotta be sensible. Who gets to decide what's sensible? Goddamn idiot. That doesn't make any sense.
Okay, not yelling, swearing, that'd be part of it.
You got a decibel meter? You wanna check and speak how loud I'm talking? If I was wrong, I'd be in handcuffs. Why the hell won't you gonna check and see if the light will work? Why won't you check and see if it'll work? If they'll hang it for free, the power costs you nothing.
We've already had
Why won't you do it? Why won't you do it? Why won't you do it? You won't even answer the simple question. Is it for something? That's fine. Just say so.
This is why you don't get to speak.
Because I ask questions that make sense.
No, because